and Sid show.
Guaranteed to be enormously successful.
It's about truth, the damn truth, New York's truth, the truth behind the BS. For New York, nothing at all in between. This is Bernard McGurk.
So Bernie.
This is Sid Rosenberg.
The one and only Sid.
Live, local, on it.
You never know what's going to happen.
Exclusively.
What is this?
77 WABC.
The inner cities of our country have been run by the Democratic Party for more than 50 years. Their policies have produced only poverty, joblessness, failing schools, and broken homes. It's time to hold Democratic politicians accountable for what they have done to these communities.
Back on Bernie and Sid on 77 WABC. What Trump just said there is basically, I believe, the message of our next guest.
He's not here yet, but yeah, it is. I mean, he actually urged African Americans before Obama took office not to vote for Barack Obama based on the color of his skin. Don't be, hey, I'm a black man, I'm voting for a black president. Instead, I think he believes that, well, I know he believes that Democrats and Obama's policies have failed. So he's been very adamant about that. Burgess Owens, who, of course, spent 1973 through 1979 with Joe Namath and the New York Jets before winning a Super Bowl in 1980 with the Oakland Raiders. And I remember that Super Bowl vividly. It was one of the first I remember. What a great game. Kenny King had a long touchdown. Rod Martin had a great game at linebacker for the Raiders. And I just remember because the Eagles were so good that year with Ron Jaworski and all that stuff. And Eagles' first shot at the Super Bowl, and Burgess Owens and his Raider team made for a long day for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Who could forget those days? And he's on with us now. Burgess Owens is on the line with us. Burgess Owens has a book out. It's called Liberalism, or How to Turn Good Men into Whiners, Weenies, and Wimps. And Burgess joins Bernie and Sid. Good morning, sir.
Hey, guys. Good morning. Good to hear from you. And those were the good old days when the Raiders used to win a lot of football games.
Yeah, they will. Listen, whether it was John Madden or Tom Flores. Before we get to the political stuff, I do want to ask you, though, before you got to the Raiders, those 6 years with the Jets, it was well past the Jet team that won the Super Bowl in '69. I get it. You got there in '73, and Joe was all beat up at that point. But what was it like still to be playing with Joe Namath in New York City in the mid-1970s?
Joe was a classy guy. A lot of fun to play with. We just couldn't win the football games. That was the only downside. It would have been nice if we could have been there when he was kind of doing his heyday. But, again, I got to the Raiders when they were still doing their thing. And Al had the just win baby motto, which is what our country has to get back to for sure.
And Burgess, turning to politics right here. Burgess Owens online with us. As I said, his book, Liberalism, or How to Turn Good Men into Whiners, Weenies, and Wimps. Basically, what you say in the book is that much like Black Lives Matters, the NAACP was founded by a bunch of liberal white guys, and you outline how they have hurt the black community.
Yeah, and what it comes down to, people, what I'm hoping is America begins to kind of look behind the curtain. We have been used and abused as a race, and has been for a long time. NAACP was not begun by black men and women. It was begun by 21 white socialist, Marxist, race-controlled Democrats. And at the end of the day, their goal was not for the good of our race, but to actually hijack it and take it in a different direction. Because at that time, our community was a community of Christians. This was Martin Luther King Senior's Christian, Catholics, entrepreneurs, and moving forward black community. Today, what we have dealt with because of this is we now have BET doing the same thing. BET, Black Entertainment Television, is not a black organization, has not been for 15 years. It's owned by wealthy, white, liberal Democrats, the Redstones of Viacom, and there have been firehose in my community for 15 years that was anti-white, anti-police, anti-American, anti-woman, anti-family, liberal filth. So if you wonder why the streets are full of people that are angry, hopeless, it's because they've been given a message of hopelessness. And Viacom could have done a much better. If they really cared for our race, it would have been a message of family, work ethic, all the things, all success things that happen in our country that people need to know to make it work. but instead they used and bred our race for the Democratic vote. You
warn people, Burgess, to your credit, not to vote for Barack Obama based on skin color because of the way Democrats rule. And as it turns out, I think you're right. You do talk specifically, though, about the social welfare programs. There is a bunch of people in our society today that believe that leads to lazy, unproductive communities. I'm not sure you disagree with that, right?
I agree totally. And this is something people need to understand. Please take a look back in the old days of the 1960s with Martin Luther King's leadership. You see them dressed in white shirts, ties, and jackets, even in the middle of the summer for demonstrations, because not only were they fighting the racist laws of the South, the Democrats, but it was also fighting the racist stereotypes, the sloppy dress, uneducated, inarticulate, reckless breeders, but boy, do we love to sing and dance. Look at BET today. We were able to fight that stereotype because we knew we were up against, and we fought by educating ourselves and competing in the marketplace. Today with BET, what do you have? Sloppy dress, uneducated, inarticulate, reckless breeders, the boy do we love to sing and dance. That is the stereotype that Democrats have always had about blacks. You see it in BET, and unfortunately we bought onto it.
And
you have people...
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
You just have our young people thinking that the young thug, which is one of their heroes, guys that has tattoos all over his face, should be our heroes, and acting moral and articulate and educated is being white. That is the mentality that these Democrats and the stereotyping blacks and whites have done now to the black race.
And you're absolutely right about that. What you outlined there with sloppy dress, et cetera, it goes on in the public schools, and Mr. Trump on Friday made he made the proposition to the black community, hey, try me. What the hell do you have to lose? He said, and he cited he's pro-choice on schools. People in the inner cities, he wants them to have the ability to go to charter schools, have vouchers so they can go to parochial schools if necessary, because the public schools are a disaster.
I talk about that in depth in my book. Again, keep in mind, if you're trying to breed voters, what you do is keep them dumb, ignorant, and hopeless. And that's what Democrats have done. The movie Hillary's America, I tell you, gang, you understand the heart of the Democratic Party. It's never been pro-black. It's always been anti-black. And one of the things I just want to quickly say, because my book also is a celebration of a great race. Up until for 100 years, between 1865 to 1965, we were the most competitive, entrepreneurial, Christian-based race in our nation. Over 50% of our blacks across this country in the 60s were part of the black middle class. We had the highest percentage of entrepreneurs in our country, the highest percentage of men committed to marriage in our country. We were so competitive that the Democrats had put together a Davis-Bacon Act in 1932 to protect the white unions against black entrepreneurs. That was a race that's been subverted by the liberal, socialist, Marxist ideology. And if I say this one thing, we at this today as a country, we do not have a racial crisis. We have an ideology crisis. We have to decide whether we're going to be socialist, Marxist, atheists, or decide to be Judeo-Christian, capitalists, and free enterprisers. We decide on which direction to go there, we'll be in good shape. And I tell you, Donald Trump was spot on with what we need to do in the black community. It's time for us as a nation to protect our young black minds and get them away from these liberal labor union schools and keep them down and independent.
You know, Burgess Owens, former New York Jet, Oakland Raider, book Liberalism. Charles Barkley goes out, Burgess, and says, listen, I'm sick and tired of the excuses coming out of my community. It's enough already. Charles Rangel sat with us last week, very, very respected politician, and said, here's a problem with our community. It's less about Democrats and Republicans. It's about fathers. It's about kids. Yeah. We talk about education, but fact is, mom's not home, or she is home, she ain't doing the job. Dad's not around, and these kids are roaming the streets, and whether it's drugs or all the issues that they have to deal with in these communities, that this thing is so much bigger than Republicans and Democrats that it's just basically a community gone awry. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it comes down to, you hit it on, that's spot on, but you have to keep in mind, there are anti-democratic policies. It's anti-black policies put together by Democrats that's gotten us where we are. You're totally right about the end result. We've had the Davis-Bacon Act, which took away the black entrepreneurs, which we led as a nation at one point. We have anti-school choice, which keeps our kids dumb and stupid in our schools and cannot compete when they get out in the marketplace. We have minimum wage, that keeps our young teenagers from ever competing. We have 83% of black teen males across this country that are unemployed. That's because of policy. And then you have the
you think that's because of policy, or what Charles Rangel says, which is for a lot of these kids, unfortunately, they're good kids, but no father, no male figure. So you know what? They at a very young age, they're out there.
That policy goes back to the welfare program, the Democratic welfare program, that took the men out of the household and made women, gave incentives to stay at home, and having babies and not having a job.
Gotcha.
Everything that we're dealing with now is dealing with a policy. And so we have to understand it's purposely done. And I go through it in my book in detail because we can fight this if we understand what the enemy is. And by the way, the answer is very simply this. There are 28% of black Americans feel the same way I do. We love our country, love our race, our kids. We have to begin to become political free agents. As capitalists, let's stop voting for socialists, which means we've got to stop voting for Democrats. If we're Christians, let's stop voting for atheists, which means we've got to stop voting for Democrats. If we believe in kids, education of our kids, we need to stop voting for those people who vote against our kids' education. Stop voting for Democrats. And if we believe in the sanctity of life, we need to stop voting for Democratic black and white Margaret Sangers who look at our kids with nothing but weeds. At the end of the day, our country, our community can come back by 28% of black Americans voting for principle first, not party. And we'll bring our country back at the same time.
Well said. Burgess Owens on the Bernie and Sid Show. His book is Liberalism, or How to Turn Good Men into Whiners, Weenies, and Wimps. And speaking to the socialist and Marxist mentality versus the entrepreneurial mentality, there's an old maxim that pretty much sums it up. Give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, and you feed him for a lifetime. I think that's essentially what you're saying here. And forgive me for not being aware. Has the Trump camp reached out to you, Mr. Owens, because you are fantastic?
They haven't yet, and I'm just coming on board. I was a cruise guy, but at the end of the day, I'm at the bottom line is we need to make sure we save our country, and right now Donald Trump is the best answer for us to do that.
How do you like that?
I'm willing to do all we have to do to keep Hillary out. Believe me, we need to win.
Nice.
On the way out here, taking it all the way back to where we started this conversation, back to football. You're a great football player, great defensive back for the Jets and the Raiders. Burgess, explain to me how your coach, Tom Flores, and your quarterback, Jim Plunkett, each won 2 Super Bowls, and neither is in the Hall of Fame.
That's not, I don't understand that either. Other than the fact that there's the old conspiracy theories that if you work for Al Davis, that they're counting ourselves against you. But that was, again, they were fun guys to play with, and the Raiders pretty much predicted or shown what the American dream was all about. A hodgepodge of people, all different type of backgrounds, who came together on Sunday and won. And that's what our nation needs to do again. Pull together and let's just win, baby.
Wow. Listen to Burgess Owens, man. You are some individual, an inspiring guy. Burgess Owens, again, the book Liberalism, or How to Turn Good Men into Whiners, Weenies, and Wimps. Burgess Owens, get the book, folks. Read it, and remember this name. You're going to hear it again. Burgess Owens on the Bernie and Sid Show. Thank you very much, sir.
That was a great job.
Thanks, guys. And join me on Facebook.
I will. We will. We will. Gotcha. Thank you.
We'll do. Thank you, sir.
Burgess Owens is the anti-Dave Navarro.
Exactly right. A nice guy and a smart guy. Right. And he didn't sleep with, why do I even go there? We just talked to this guy. Let's continue a window of purity for him. It was a great guest, a great interview. 1-800-848-9222. Bernie and Sid back after this.